Folks, welcome to West Bloomfield 911. I'm Officer Rick, and on behalf of Chief Mike Patton, the men and women of the police department, we welcome to another exciting show. And of course, I also want to welcome my co-host, David McNealy. Dave, how are you?
Morning. Good.
Yeah? All right, beautiful. Any wisecracks or anything you want to start out with today?
I'll save them for you for
You'll
later.
save them? Okay. You better be good to me. You're sitting right by my good elbow there. Do Gordie Howe. Folks, we also have with us today Deputy Warden Donald Ricumstrict, and he's with the Gus Harrision Correctional Facility near Adrian. Donald, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, now, don't run away. We're going to do a special segment called the Corner Spotlight, where we highlight a West Bloomfield employee.
Okay.
Folks, if you look on your screen, you will see the smiling countenance of Patrick White. Patrick is the senior desktop server engineer, and I know that's a mouthful. So he's assigned to administration. Patrick was brought to us here in West Bloomfield in July of 2014. So he's got about 2 years of service here in the beautiful township of West Bloomfield. And when I asked him about his favorite food, he said without any hesitation, pizza. Now I've got to tell you, there's something strange about these guys in IT, because we're going to do another corner spotlight with his partner, Matthew, and they both like the same food. So there must be something about them staring at those screens all day that changes their brain to a pizza high. Anyway, that's his favorite food. His favorite book, not a particular book, but he loves a certain genre, science fiction. And in movies, kind of the same thing. He loves science fiction and fantasy. So I guess when you're dealing with all that technical stuff each day, you really need to escape. He loves to listen to rock and roll, especially the rock and roll out of the 1970s and 1980s. And he also loves gaming. So you'd expect that, I think, from a techie. He loves gaming and hanging out with his 3 daughters. And I've got to tell you, I've met his wife and kids, and he's got a very, very lovely family. He's a lucky man. And he also loves to work out, and he loves to run. And, you know, I'm kind of the same way. I love to run, too. I run from the couch to the refrigerator to get the pizza while the commercial's running on. And his favorite quote, and I do like this one, "A man is only as good as his word." And, you know, Patrick, you're absolutely right. For there is power in a man's word, and there's power in being honest and knowing that your word means something. So Patrick's a good man. We're glad we have him. Keep up the good work. You keep our radios and all our techie stuff working, so we're glad to have you. Patrick, I'll see you back at the barn. So folks, we're going to turn the corner spotlight off on Patrick. And you know, we always do a tip or a fact of the day, and today we're going to do a safety tip. We just, you may have heard recently on the radio about an Oakland County man who fell to a scam that was called to him saying he had won the lottery. It was Mega Millions, and excuse me, he must have really wanted that big money, because they asked him to send them money to pay the taxes on that Mega Millions that he won. And he did, unfortunately. So remember, this is kind of a play on an old scam that's been going on for years and years about you winning the lottery, but send us money to pay for taxes. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And if you won the lottery, the state will let you know. They're not going to ask for your money up front, because don't forget, you're going to have to go to them for your winnings, and they're going to take out their taxes before you even get your winnings. So if someone calls you and says you've won the Mega Millions or the Powerball or any other game, but you need to pay up front, please, that should be a red flag that you are being scammed. So do not believe them. If you have any questions, you can call the Lottery Commission. You can call me at the West Bloomfield Crime Prevention Unit, and we'll give you the best advice so you aren't separated from your money. And if you did win the lottery, certainly you can call me. No, let's not go there. I'll get in trouble with the chief. But remember, don't fall for those scams. Folks, we'll be right back with our special guest, Deputy Warden Donald Ricumstrict, from the Gus Harrision Correctional Facility near Adrian. We're going to talk about the very important job that they do out there. Don't go away.
You're watching West Bloomfield 911 on Civic Center TV, a service of the Greater West Bloomfield Cable Communications Commission. For more information or to watch episodes on demand, visit civiccentertv.com/WB911. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
After the tragic loss of an officer in the line of duty, Michigan Concerns of Police Survivors provide support to surviving law enforcement families and co-workers. To learn more about My Cops and upcoming events, or for information on how you can help, visit micops.org or call 877-464-2677.
Hello and welcome back. Now before we get started, I was harassing our producer Katie because she recently had a birthday. Now, I know when I was younger, you used to get a little spanking on the butt, one for each year and then one for good luck. Well, I drive Katie crazy doing this. So we're gonna do one for each year she was born. 55, 56, 50, only kidding, Katie, you're nowhere near that old. But happy birthday to you, Katie. Welcome back. We are with Donald Ricumstrict, Deputy Warden from the Gus Harrision Correctional Facility in Adrian. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning again.
Yes, absolutely. Glad you could be here. And I know you kind of have to go by West Bloomfield to get out to Adrian because you don't live out there on the weekend.
Exactly.
So we're glad to have you here. And I was looking at your bio, and you were born in the city of Detroit, just as I was, both Detroit boys. Mm-hmm. And you're married and you've got three, how many kids?
Four.
4 kids and 3 grandchildren.
3 grands.
And you truly are blessed then.
I am.
Yeah, that's
Very
great.
much so.
That's great. Now, how old are your kids? All adults?
All adults.
Yeah.
My youngest birthday was yesterday. She turned 24.
Oh.
And they're all 5 years apart.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Very good. Very good.
Them out, got enough time to pay for college, recover, pay for college,
yeah,
recover.
without a doubt. And you watch her, and you watch her, and you watch him,
Can you
and you
fit
watch
this?
her.
3 girls and 1 boy?
3 girls and 1 boy.
Did you and the boy ever get into the bathroom?
Oh, it was tough, believe me.
Really?
It really was. They're
Really?
all day.
Oh, I'm telling you. I've got 2 girls, so
Okay.
I understand. And
I got one.
yeah. And she spends her time there too.
Oh,
doesn't she?
yeah.
Yeah. And you grew up in Detroit and went to the Detroit public school system, which has been getting kind of a beating, unfortunately, recently.
Yeah, it's getting really tough for them. And a lot of it is really just circles around money.
Yes.
You know?
It's always about money, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And you've been working with DOC, Michigan Department of Corrections, since 1990. So
Yes.
you've been there for a bit.
Seen a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that because you got 26 years with them. If I want to work for DOC and I'm a young man, give us the route you had to take to get to where you are.
Well, you have to have a certain amount of college credits if you don't have a college degree. If you have 15 credit hours in criminal justice,
Okay.
you can take the exam. There's an interview process. And then at that point, if we select you, we'll schedule you for an academy. And the department right now is doing some hiring. So we have an academy class starting a couple of weeks, I believe October 17th. So we're hiring.
Well, you know what, since we are on that aspect of it, why don't you give a number or the website that folks can go to if you know it and you have
Well,
it?
if you go to www.michigan.gov/corrections, you can get the information for scheduling, taking the exam, and applying online, putting an application in for us.
Excellent. And I know David and I have spoken. You guys are very unheralded in corrections, and I don't think most people even want to know what you guys do. As long as the bad guys away from them, they're happy. But you guys have a tough job, and I've worked a little bit of corrections in the sense I started with Wayne County Sheriff working in the jail, so I kind of have a feel for what you guys do. But what's the academy length of time for someone that wants to work for DOC?
The academy is 4 weeks of training at the academy. Then there's 8 weeks of on the job.
Okay.
And then there's another 4 weeks that you go back to the academy before you go and get assigned.
Academy is based out of the state police.
We're doing it out of the
Academy,
Michigan State
I've
Police.
been up there for some training, and I've seen some of your recruit officers and MSP troopers all in the same hallway and all that stuff.
Marching
like that.
through?
Marching and all that.
Oh,
yep.
make a lot of noise, don't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now Did you graduate from the academy in 1990, or have things changed? that much
1990.
since then?
Yeah,
Okay.
1990.
Okay, so you hired in, put the app, went to the academy, and then they said, young man, go to...
Western Wayne Correctional Facility,
Where's
which is
that?
now closed. It was in Plymouth.
All right.
Used
Yeah,
to
I
be the
remember.
old DeHoco.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
I'm old enough to remember DeHoco.
Okay, all right, yeah.
I'm not. He's over there.
My partner.
I see. That's a good one.
We're have to talk once the cameras quit rolling. So you went out to DeHoco, or what used to be DeHoco.
Yes, it was Western Wayne. I worked there for a couple of years. Then I worked at the Ryan Correctional Facility in Detroit.
Okay.
From there, I went to work at the Boot Camp Aftercare, which is now where Ford Field is. They closed that, and I went over and went to work for my own correctional facility. From there, I worked at Macomb.
Now, can you take us through the steps? I mean, were you being promoted as you went on to the position you are now?
Correct. I started out as an officer at Western Wayne. We were laid off for a couple of weeks and got transferred over to Ryan to open it up. I was an officer there. Then I made sergeant at the Boot Camp Aftercare, and I worked there for 2 years and came back inside as a sergeant at Mound, and then a couple years later I made lieutenant, and a couple of years after that I made captain at Macomb. From there I made assistant deputy warden. That was at Standish Max up in Standish, Michigan. That's closed now, so I'm kind of like a black cat. I think wherever I go, places closed. I worked there for several years, and I worked at Camp Lehman for a year.
I've never heard of that one.
Well, we've closed all the camps now. Camp Lehman was up by Grayling.
Okay.
And I was there for a year, went back to Standish. Like I said, it closed in 2009, to which then I went to work at the Saginaw Correctional Facility. I worked there for 4 years, and now I'm at Adrian. I've been there for a year and a half.
All right.
As a deputy warden. I made deputy warden at Saginaw.
Very good. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Well earned.
Well, you know, I
quite a
learned a
journey.
lot.
It's
It
quite a journey.
is. It really is.
You're
A
all
lot
over
of
the-
people
you're all
don't.
over the state.
Yeah, a lot of people don't get all of that, but you know, I'm dedicated to it. I believe in it.
Now, each time you got promoted, did you stay at the same house, or did you move to different?
Well,
did you move?
I'm in my same house. I've been there. I haven't left there.
So you've had quite the commute.
Well, I've commuted some, and then I
What's
just
that
had
like
to get
on
an
your What's that
apartment.
like on your family? Because Rick and I have talked about.
Very tough. When I got the promotion to ADW and went up to Standish, my daughter, the 24-year-old, was in the 8th grade.
Oh wow. A lot of
But-
activities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of pressure on the wife. She had to pick up a lot of that stuff because I was gone, and you know, just home on the weekends, making that sacrifice. But like I said, now she's 24, so time does fly.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you guys are in the same boat that we're in the sense that when you're, especially if you're an officer, I would assume as deputy warden, of course, your phone is never off, and you get calls at all hours of the day and night.
Without a doubt.
And the warden must like that because he's got someone to bump it down to a little bit.
A little bit, but he has his turn in the bucket too.
Absolutely.
He gets his own call time.
Right,
I bet.
right. But what is, let's talk a little bit what it's like to be an officer. Give us a taste of what are some of the jobs that the officer does coming in and working in a prison system.
That's probably our most important part in corrections is the officers.
They're the
because
backbone.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're there. They spend the most time with the prisoners. They see the most activity that goes on with the prisoners, and they also have the greatest influence on the prisoners because they're the role models. We're all role models, but they see those officers sometimes 5 to 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, and that's who they modern and get their role modeling from. A lot of them didn't have fathers, you know. So now that they're in the system, that's who they look to. They look to us. They look to the line staff.
I'm sure your warden and you set that example for your officers, that bar, and I'm sure, can you expound on that a little bit? How you guys,
Sure, I've
the
worked
team
for-
concept, because we have that team concept here.
I have worked for a lot of wardens, but my present warden, Paul Klee, is probably the most influential warden that I have worked for on me, the staff, and the prisoners. He's a very unique warden. Warden Klee spends 2 meals a day, 5 days a week in the chow hall during chow lines.
No
That's
kidding.
almost unheard of for a warden.
Wow.
He takes the pressure off of me because he's out there so much. But he's also there when a guy has an issue. He can feel that complaint.
Are we talking about, when you say when a guy has an issue, we're talking about employees or the prisoners?
Prisoners primarily, but he's also available to the staff because he's out there in the chow hall with them. We
Yeah.
run the chow lines with the officers, with a supervisor, and the warden is there,
he
and,
rolls
and
up
he's
his
committed.
sleeves.
And he is out there.
Wow.
And if we're shaking down, he's shaking down.
Wow.
He definitely leads by example.
That's
Well,
cool.
and he leads from the front rather than from behind.
Exactly.
That's excellent.
That does set the standard, and it does have an influence on the men and the women you work with. You know, when they know that he's out there with them and he's got their backs.
Well, when you see him shaking down and you see him looking into things and addressing issues, how can you not?
Right?
The man is out there doing it.
Right.
So, yeah, you fall in line and you pick it up,
Right. If he tells you to do something, he's doing it too.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty
that's quite a feather in his cap. And well, it says what what kind of men and women are at least out in your facility. So congratulations, because that's a tough job. It's a, like I said at the beginning, it's a job that's not very well known by the people. And I think you guys don't get the respect. When I say guys, I mean the gals also. You don't get the respect that you deserve, because I remember when I was in the jail, like you said, you're with them all day long. And if they're having a bad day, the inmates, they can make your day a bad day
Without
as
a
well.
doubt.
Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the issues that are unique to the prison system, maybe a little different than law enforcement, even from a standpoint of dealing not just with the prisoners, but you got to deal with their families, their loved ones. What are some of the issues that you guys face there?
We face so many issues. We get so many calls from family members because they're their loved ones.
Right.
So, unfortunately, a lot of corrections is unknown, and people get their perception from TV and movies, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you this. I've seen corrections change so much in my time there, and our focus goes from punishment to now we're trying to improve. Our model now is offender success. And our director of the Michigan Department of Corrections, Heidi Washington, is a firm believer in preparing these guys to go home. And some people may not understand what that means, but what that means is we get these guys, some of them are 18, 19,
Right.
20. We may have them for the next 12 to 20 years. But if you come to prison and you're 20 years old and you're getting out at 36, you got a whole lot of living yet left to do.
Right.
So if you invest in the offender to make them better, to prepare them to be successful when they go home,
We won't see him again.
they stay out.
Right.
Yeah, we won't see him again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they become law-abiding, tax-paying. Now they take care of their responsibilities. A lot of guys come to prison, they already have kids and those things, and that burden's on us when he's locked up and there's nobody to take care of his kids. So offender success, some of the things that Director Washington believes in is preparing these guys. We've got a facility in Ionia that's we call Vocational Village. It's kind of like a trade school setup. We house them in one unit: carpentry, plumbing, auto mechanics, some real trades, some things where when a guy leaves, he doesn't look like the only thing he has is what he had before he came
Right.
there, which is not much.
Right.
Every offender before getting in the program is required to get his GED if he doesn't have that, or his high school diploma already.
Okay.
We want to make them better than they were when they came, because if not, what do you leave them when they come out 10, 12 years
What are the guidelines
later?
to get into a program like that? Do you have to not commit any offenses during your time there, or how does that work? How do you get into the program?
When you get in the program, first of all, it's just like anything in life. The guy's got to want to do better.
Right.
He's got to want to change his
can't force him.
circumstance.
That's
No,
right.
we don't try to force them, and there are some, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's for some people that are motivated, some people that really want to change their lives and go out there and do better. 90% of our people that come to prison, they go home.
Yes.
Very few go for life. We have lifers, but very few go for life. So the investment in trying to make sure that these guys are successful when they leave there is so that when they get back out there, they don't reoffend. They don't run up on my daughter,
Right.
or your daughter, or your mother. We want these guys to do better and be better. And you have to provide them some type of avenue so that they can be successful. At our facility, we have Jackson Community College that we partner with, so these guys can work on getting their college degree.
Excellent.
Jackson Community College also provides a computer lab, teach these guys how to repair computers.
And this is all done on site?
This is done at Adrian.
Okay.
We also had a license plate factory there.
You guys bring profs in. I was about to ask this question
Yes.
because that is from TV. Do they make license plates?
They
They don't
actually
really
do
pound rocks, right?
They don't pound rocks, but they do actually make license plates there for the entire state.
Yeah.
It's one of the better paying jobs there. They also do woodwork, hobby craft. They make cutting boards and mugs and you name it. There's a lot of
Rick
things.
has threatened me to pound rocks.
That's
Want that
very
on the,
available.
want that on the record.
We also at Gus Harrison have a optical lab where they teach these guys how to fit, do prescriptions. There's a certification that when they complete the course, take the exam, that certification is good anywhere in the country.
Wow.
There's also an opportunity now for Pell Grants to help pay for the college courses.
Excellent. And, you know, and some people might say that's a waste of time doing stuff like that. I mean, are we sending them to prison to improve them? And I understand, you know, a lot of people say that because it's not necessarily easy for everybody in the general public. And especially in kids going to school, they got a ton of debt and what have you. But it's also a catch-22. If you, as you said, if you bring these people out and they come out with the same bag of nothing they went in with, they're going to do the same stuff.
They're going to fall back
again.
into the same things that they were doing that got them arrested by us in the first place. Because, like I
Exactly.
said, you guys are at one end of the law enforcement spectrum, and we're at the other end. We get them. When we catch them,
We
you
hold
guys
'em.
end up getting them.
Right. Exactly.
So your law enforcement and ours, you know, if you don't give them something, what do you end up with? They're back.
Yeah. And before we continue, I do want to write down David pounding
Rocks. Making license plates too.
What you got going the rest of the day? I invite you guys to come out and take a tour of the license plate factory.
You know, that would be great. In fact, that's how we, you and I kind of got together. As I was out there with one of our other officers, we had an interview with one of your inmates.
Okay.
And so that's how all this came about. But that would be great. I'd love to do that.
Anytime.
All right,
Anytime, you
beautiful.
guys are more than welcome. Come out, take a look at it. It's something to see.
Let's talk a little bit about what it's like. What's life like in the prison for the people that have to live there? I know when I worked for Wayne County, we had to separate certain individuals based on maybe the type of crimes, and we always had to have a balance on racial balance, because if one group outnumbers the other by too much, they, you know, unfortunately take advantage of each other. What do you guys, let's talk a little bit about what you guys, some of the problems you face in there, balancing the inmates based on their crimes, maybe their racial makeup, their emotional makeup, stuff like that.
We deal with those on an even larger scale because we have these offenders for sometimes 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And age tends to mellow out people in general. But a lot happens between a guy's first year of being incarcerated till his 20th year. There's a lot of growing in there. And there's a lot of anger a lot of times associated with that. And we have the same problems, unfortunately, inside the prison that we have out in the community. We have those gang problems. Those gang members, when you guys lock them up,
They're there.
they come to us.
Right.
So we have staff there that monitor gang activity. And it's actually all staff's responsibility to monitor gang activity. During shakedown of living areas, we look for paintings, drawings, bylaws, colors. It can be very complicated.
What do you guys do? Like Rick was saying too, we're seeing a lot of mental health issues. What do you guys do with that?
We have an extensive RTP and OPT teams. RTP is for a little more severe outpatient mental health, or some guys that with some counseling and some medication can function normally. Some of the population that are a little more severe, we have to populate them separately, isolate them, limit their ability to GP. That's why we have different levels.
GP is
General population.
Okay.
In addition to general population, we also have these protected environment prisoners that have separate living conditions. We have 2 housing units at Gus Harrison of RTP prisoners, and they don't interact with the general population prisoners because they get taken advantage of. And they are a little more labor intense, and we have
Why
more
don't you tell
staff in
folks
that
what
area.
does RTP stand for?
Residential Treatment Program.
Okay.
So we keep them more isolated and secluded from the rest of the population. They go to dinner, chow separately than the other population. They usually only interact within the unit. If they go to the gym, only that level's in there. We don't let them go to school or any of those other things with general population prisoners just because of the threat there and the vulnerability of that population. So,
Donald, we only have a few minutes left. Let me ask you real quick. I saw on the internet the other day, it was out of state, wasn't in Michigan, about private prisons. Now, we don't have any of those in Michigan, do we?
at this time we do not. We have
Okay.
in the past, but we do not at this time.
Okay. And do you, and one of the kind of final analysis on that particular article is that even though the government does get a lot of flack from the way it messes up some things, when it comes to prison systems, doing it the way we do it in Michigan, where it's operated and run by the government, is far more effective, more cost effective, and creates a lot less problems. Do you think that that's true?
I definitely think it's true. It's been proven here.
Yeah.
We had a privately ran prison here, and it did not go well. I think that when you're doing something for profit, then it's all about the bottom line.
Right.
So you tend to cut corners, and you look at how do you run this more efficiently to make more money, versus when you do it as a government entity, you know, you have a duty and an oath to the public.
Yes.
And you want to protect the public at all costs, and that is what your main focus is. So we've seen from the lawsuits from the private ran prison before they shut down that we don't necessarily get that.
Well, and you do take an oath to serve the public, and that public isn't just the folks on the outside. We're trying to separate the bad guys from them to keep them safe. But those gentlemen and ladies that are in these prisons, as we had talked about off camera, they have a right also to be safe within that prison.
Yes, indeed.
Because some of the people that go to prison, they want to do their time, they want to get out, go back into the population. But there are people that go to the prisons that they've been taking advantage of people outside. They want to take advantage of people inside.
Absolutely.
And it's your job to protect those people.
Without a
in there.
doubt. You're 100% correct. Our duty is to protect the prisoners and the public. And there are times when we do have to isolate, separate,
Yes.
lock up. And we have a lot of prison issues at times because of those things. And, you know, also because you can only isolate and separate to a degree.
Yes.
You know, you may be a lifer and I may be going home in 2 years. So our motivations are different because you're not going
Absolutely.
anywhere anytime soon. I'm trying to prepare to go home and be successful. And though they are housed together, we still have a duty to make sure that the guy that wants to go home and do the right thing can absolutely do that and go home and be successful.
Right.
Our recidivism rate is 31%. That's the second lowest that it's been in the history.
Is that
of the
right?
state.
Well, congratulations
That's
to you
part
guys.
of that
Kudos.
offender success. We want these guys to go home.
That's
And we win all the way around.
Yeah.
You know, we win here within the prison system, and we win outside when these guys are back out there doing the right thing and
Right.
not offending, and it takes that drain off the taxpayers, which is all of us. And if we can get them to get back to paying taxes, even better.
Yeah. You know, we only have about 30 seconds more here, Donald. Real quick, what do you want to tell the public about what you guys do and what you offer the public and the respect that should garner from them as it does for other members of law enforcement?
Probably one of the biggest things that the public does not know about corrections is we have so many organizations that we give to charity. The prisoners at Gus Harrision, the Prisoner Benefit Fund gave $5,000 last year to the Special Olympics. They've given book bags and school supplies to kids in Lenawee County. They've donated money to the battered women's shelter. It's these guys' opportunity to give back to society. They've taken, and not all guys are bad.
Right.
So if they're given the opportunity to help,
That's awesome.
they want to
That's
do
good
that.
stuff.
Gives them an opportunity to think of others instead of themselves.
Feels
Thank you
connected.
for your Yeah, we thank you for everything you
Thank
guys
you for
are
having
doing.
me,
We have a
guys.
lot of respect for you guys. And Donald, we want to remember a fallen officer, so if you'll stick with us
I'm
here for a
certainly
moment.
will. Glad to.
Folks, if you look on your screen, you will see the name of Christopher Keenan, Special Deputy Marshal for the United States Department of Justice, United States Marshal Service, who was killed in the line of duty on November 9th, 1913. Unfortunately, his heroics were lost in the fog of history, so these words of honor are late, but hopefully better late than never, as we remember Special Deputy Marshal Christopher Keenan. He drowned when the barge he was on, Plymouth, sank in Lake Michigan during a severe 3-day storm. He had been placed on the barge due to ongoing legal issues with the boat and its ownership. It was being towed by the tug Martin from Menominee to Search Bay when the ships encountered a severe storm on Lake Michigan. The Martin's captain cut the tow line near Gull Island in Delta County, and the Plymouth dropped its anchor. It remained anchored for at least 40 hours, during which time Marshal Keenan wrote a dying message in a bottle. I mean, this is a very fascinating story. That bottle was found 11 days later near Pentworth. Deputy Keenan's body washed ashore near Manistee several days later. And on April 21st, a little sidelight, 1984, the wreckage of the Plymouth was located approximately 50 feet of water, 500 yards offshore of nearby Poverty Island. And the wreckage was discovered using an underwater sled designed by a Milwaukee police officer. Deputy Keenan also served as deputy sheriff for the Menominee County Sheriff's Office, and had also previously served with the Menominee City Police Department for a total of 10 years in law enforcement. He was survived by a wife and 2 daughters. So for this great American hero, whose honor has come a little late, especially Deputy Marshal Christopher Keenan of the United States Marshal Service, we say rest in peace, brothers. We ask you to remember his family, the men and women of the Marshal Service, and all officers, especially this man who we honor today. Rest in peace, brother. Friends, we thank you for watching West Bloomfield 911. We once again want to thank our very special guest, Deputy Warden Donald Ricumstrict from the Gus Harrison Correctional Facility near Adrian. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming here today. I want to thank my former co-host, David McNealy, not Donald McNealy, David McNealy.
I'll be Donald for you.
He'll be Donald for the rest of the show now. Well, we thank him, and we thank you for watching. Remember, you can keep in touch with us. You can sign up for Nixle and MapQuest if you'd like to learn more about what's going on in the township. You can also keep in touch with us. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And we want you to keep watching here on West Bloomfield 911 because we want to keep in touch with you as well. So we thank you for watching, and on behalf of Chief Mike Patton, my brothers and sisters in the West Bloomfield Police Department, we ask you to stay safe, take care of each other, and love one another. Tomorrow is promised to no one. I'm Officer Rick. We'll see you again on West Bloomfield 911.